Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I will recap one of a thriller films from 2019, titled Evil Intent. Before we get to the storyline, don't forget to like and subscribe for more film recaps and have a great day. At the beginning of the film, we are shown an old female patient who is attended by a beautiful nurse named Gwen. At that moment, the patient is experiencing shortness of breath and asks that more oxygen to be supplied to her. Instead, the nurse turns off the oxygen machine and presses the air tube, causing the patient to be unable to breathe. The patient's heartbeat is stopped as a result of this action. The nurse then pretends to shout blue code, which brings doctors to help the patient. In fact, while the doctor is pumping her heart, the nurse is just standing in front of the door, smiling just like a psychopath. Fortunately, the patient's life is still able to be saved by the doctor. After seeing their condition, the nurse walks away as if she is satisfied for what she has done. The scene then shifts to a large house where a small family appears to be living peacefully. The wife, Mira, is preparing breakfast for her husband, Todd. Their son, Max, then approaching them and tells them that he has problems with his legs. Max suffers from muscular dystrophy, which requires the use of crutches to help him walk around. Mira becomes worried when she hears this because her child often walks up and down the stairs on his own. But Todd tries to calm them down and believes it is a normal thing. Following that, it turns out that Gwen, the psychopath nurse, works in the house to take care of Max. While the four of them are having breakfast together, Max accidentally drops his crutch. Gwen then helps him take his crutch back, but she deliberately loosens the end of his crutch, so that Max will fall due to it later. Not long after that, Todd is ready to go to work while Mira neatens his suit. Gwen is a little jealous when she sees Todd and Mira's intimacy. After Todd has left for works, one of Mira's friends, Karen, come to visit her at her house. They can both see how happy Gwen and Max are when they are having fun playing ball. During their conversation, Mira expresses her feelings that Max and Todd prefer Gwen over herself. At that moment, Gwen purposely overhears their conversation. Karen then suggests that Mira check the references of other nurses who might be able to replace Gwen. But Mira refuses because she believes Gwen has taken good care of Max. They then hear Max's screams as he falls to the ground. Mira, who sees Max's condition, blames Gwen for her carelessness, but Max explains that it isn't Gwen's fault. According to him, the crutch breaks unexpectedly while he is walking around the house. Mira tries to contact Dr. Keller to check on Max's condition, as well as to order a new crutches to replace Max's broken ones. Later that night, Mira apologizes to Gwen for what happened this afternoon. Gwen then said it was fine because it was a stressful moment for her as a mother. Gwen also make a therapeutic tea for Mira so that she can rest. The next day, Mira joins the community of people with muscular dystrophy. She tells the story of Max, who has been diagnosed this year. Max starts to experience it when he climbs up the slide, and falls backwards onto the sand after slipping. Mira can't hold back her tears as she remembers the incident, and she was so scared when she saw Max fall on the previous day. When Mira returns home, she is surprised by Gwen, who appears out of nowhere and offers Mira another tea. While Mira is sleeping on the sofa, Dr. Keller comes to the house to give Max a new pair of crutches. But Gwen doesn't allow Dr. Keller to meet Max. When she is about to leave, she says that she seems to know Gwen, but she has forgotten where she last saw her. She also promises Gwen that if she is able to recall it, she will let her know. During the evening, Gwen visits to Dr. Keller at her house, where she tells her that she still remembers Dr. Keller. As soon as Gwen enters the house, Gwen immediately injects something into her, and says that they know each other from their time in the hospital. In fact, they were treating the patient who Gwen attempted to kill at the beginning of the film. Gwen also admits that she intends to kill Dr. Keller, who is considered a nuisance to her and her family. To give you some background, Gwen is obsessed with family relationships, which is why she behaves in this way. It turns out she has injected Dr. Keller with a high dose of drugs, which has the effect of rendering Dr. Keller unconscious. Later that night, Mira receives a call from an unknown caller named David. David admits that he is a friend of community she has recently joined. He tries to get closer to Mira by telling her that his son, Carter, also suffers from muscular dystrophy. However, when she wants to see the person she was talking to, she can only see a low-resolution photo of the man. David admits that his wife has died, and following that, he is being helped by a nurse to take care of Carter. Mira, who hears this, believes she took the right step by hiring a nurse to live in the same house with her. But Mira had no idea that David is actually Gwen herself, who changes her voice using software on a computer. In the morning, Karen returns to Mira's house, where she is currently having breakfast with her family. Karen then accidentally spills a drink on Todd's shirt, forcing Todd to take off his shirt. Meanwhile, Gwen looks fascinated by Todd, and she then takes Todd's clothes to the laundry room. Karen, who notices Mira is unwell, offers to help her in getting her bag from her office room. However, as she passes by the laundry room, Karen accidentally sees Gwen smelling Todd's clothes. Following night, Gwen, who pretends to be David, calls Mira again, and asks about her and Max's condition. Mira says that she isn't feeling well on that day, and David suggests her nurse to check on her to make sure she is okay. After that, Gwen hangs up the phone and immediately approaches Mira. She then pretends to have caught Mira and seems to accuse Mira of cheating on Todd. Gwen then meets with Todd and tells him that Mira has just gotten off the phone with a man. Gwen tries to persuade Todd to suspect that Mira is cheating on him. But Todd still defends his wife, claiming that Mira is overworked and may not be getting enough sleep. Gwen then says goodnight and hugs Todd. The following morning, Gwen and Todd are in the kitchen while Mira is still asleep. It seems Gwen is always looking for ways to spend as much time with Todd as possible. Gwen then attempts to seduce Todd by touching him, but is thwarted by Mira, who is just awoken from her sleep. Meanwhile, Gwen has made breakfast, and even Gwen has taken over all the housework. Todd is worried about Mira because he often saw her sleeping on the sofa. Karen then calls Mira to thank her for sending her birthday flowers on her special day. However, Mira is confused as she hears it because she doesn't remember sending it in the first place. Karen is worried about Mira's condition and advises her to see a doctor. However, it turns out that Gwen is the one who sent the flowers, and she expresses concern that Mira will forget Karen's birthday. After that, Mira suddenly faints when they both go down the stairwell. She said she wants to go see a doctor and he asks Gwen not to tell Todd about it. But Gwen instead offers to take Mira's blood to be taken to the lab after seeing she is unwell. Later that night, Mira tells David again about the problems at her house. Todd and Max return home not long after, while Mira is busy on the phone. When Mira wants to accompany Max to his room, her vision becomes blurry, and she promises to follow after him. At the same time, Mira gets a message from an unknown person informing her that David is a fraud, just as she is about to fall asleep on the sofa. The next day, Todd tries to wake Mira, who is still asleep on the sofa, and accidentally sees last night's message on Mira's cell phone. Max is confused as well, and he wonders why his mother has been sleeping so much lately. Mira then apologizes to Gwen for having a negative perception of her, despite the fact that she has been working 24 hours at the house. But Gwen feels happy because she is treated as if she is part of the family in this house. Then Mira receives another message about David. She simply responds by telling him not to bother her anymore. After then, Mira forces herself to go to work on that day. At the office, Mira tells Karen that her lab test results is fine. She says that Gwen's suggestion was right, where she just needs to rest. But Karen advises Mira to take the advice of another doctor who has nothing to do with Gwen, but Mira doesn't mind it. Mira then gets an email from Gwen disguised as David. Fake David wants to tell her that Weber, who often sends messages to Mira, is trying to slander him. However, the second message tells Mira that her child is in danger, and asks Mira to meet at a cafe. When she is at home, Todd overhears her conversation with Gwen about the person she wants to meet at the cafe tomorrow. Todd, who overheard the conversation, is disappointed because he believes that his wife has cheated on him. Mira then comes to a certain cafe that David has set up the following day. And it is there she meets the real David Weber. David claims that he has no children, and that he has never spoken to Mira at all. He informs that someone has disguised as him, as well as the death of his wife, Laurel, from lung cancer. The reason for this is that someone persuaded Laurel to stop chemotherapy and avoid seeing a doctor, which is similar to what Mira is going through at the time. Plus, David shows a photo of the same person who was chatting with Mira, along with a photo of a fake child that David had shown when he called her. Mira looks as if she can't believe what she's seen, but she still doesn't suspect Gwen is behind it. It turns out that Todd has been following Mira and sees Mira hugging David. Gwen, on the other hand, is visited by Karen to give Mira a new design bag. Moreover, she is here because she wants to talk to Gwen about the issues at the house. Karen says that she has previously saw Gwen smelling Todd's shirt. and she threatens that if Gwen is toying with this family, then she will toying with Gwen as well. However, as Karen is about to return home, she is hit in the back by Gwen. After that, Gwen takes Karen to a location where Karen is injected with something, before she leaves Karen with her car. Mira, who is cooking for dinner, receives a message from David that he will be home late in that night. Not long after that, Max and Gwen arrive from Max's physical therapy. At that point, Gwen secretly takes Mira's knife and goes out with the excuse that she wants to meet up with her old friend. It turns out that Gwen goes to see David and they apparently know each other. She knows the location of David's house also because of Mira. And it turns out that Gwen was David's wife's nurse before she died. Plus, she is the one who advises David's wife to stop taking doctor's therapy. She then stabs David with a knife, and pours blood next to David's dead body. After that, she leaves David and brings his bag with her. Later that night, Todd returns home drunk since he's stressed with his wife's behavior. The situation is used by Gwen to get closer to Todd. Gwen takes him to his room, and she starts to seduce him. But Todd seems to still be loyal to his wife, when he tells Gwen to leave his room. The next morning, Gwen greets Todd and tells him that he was the one who teased her the night before. Mira, who has just woken up, receives a message from David that says he couldn't sleep, because his little guy couldn't sleep either. Meanwhile, on the bottle, there are the words "little guy" written by Gwen. From this point, Mira starts to remember by the fact that David and Gwen always use the same nickname for a child, which is little guy. As a result, Mira becomes curious and throws away the water in the bottle Gwen has prepared. She then found that there is medicine powder inside the water bottle. After that, Mira goes into Gwen's room, where she found a book that discusses the use of toxin in medicine. Mira also found several medicines hidden under the bed. She immediately rushes out of Gwen's room, as she realizes Gwen has returned to home with Max. Gwen is surprised that Mira is awake so early, despite she should still be sleeping. Mira then tries to find out about the drug Gwen has given her. But Gwen suddenly comes with a drink for her and advises her to get plenty of rest. Following that, Gwen and Max will be returning to the clinic for physical therapy. Mira suggests to skip physical therapy on that day, but Max doesn't want to because there is football game in his therapy place. After they have left, Mira returns to Gwen's room, and records a video of what Gwen has done to her. She then gets ready to leave while calling Todd. Mira says that she already has evidence against Gwen that she has recorded, and she wants to report it to the police. Unexpectedly, Gwen has returned home, and it seems that Gwen already knows that her actions have been revealed. Mira wonders where Max is, and Gwen immediately takes her to meet Max. When they on their way to Max's place, Gwen tells the reason that she did all this because she was never treated as a family by the patients she treated. And all she wants is to have a happy family like Mira, which she can only achieve by getting rid of Mira from there. Todd, on the other hand, returns home and looks for Mira right away, but all he found is her cell phone. Todd then checked the video that had been recorded by Mira as evidence. When they arrive at a house, Gwen admits that she has killed people who have disturbed her family, such as Dr. Keller, Karen and also David. When Mira knows this, she immediately looks for Max, only to find out that Gwen has lied to her. Gwen says that Max is still in therapy, and she brings Mira to the house only to finish her off. Plus, Gwen reveals that the knife used to kill David has Mira's fingerprints on it, since Mira was the last person to use the knife. As we've seen before, the blood that was spilled next to David's dead body was also Mira's blood, which had been asked to be taken to the test lab. Mira, who hears this, tries to run away from there, but she is blocked by Gwen. In the end, they are forced to fight each other, which Mira manages to survive by giving a teapot blow to Gwen. As a result, Gwen finally lost consciousness and Mira immediately run away from the house with her car. Honestly, the ending for this film is rushed, as the film only ends with Todd, Mira and Max reuniting as one family. It is not known what happened to Gwen after everything she has done. Okay guys. That's all the recap for Evil Intent 2019. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.